families. I am just needing to communicate some information, and it seems like the easiest and maybe most effective thing to do is to do it in a video. And if you're listening to this, I thank you for that. I know that we're all very busy and have a lot going on, but there are just some things that I want to make sure that you understand, and some things I could use your help with. So this slide that I have up right now is something that we look at each morning. We have since September. Really, it's the Wildcat principles of being safe, respectful, and responsible. And I think, we've kind of drilled them into the kids' heads and psyches, and they're doing a really good job for the most part. Um, but what I realized as we moved into this is we hadn't really talked a lot about what responsibility looks like in terms of assignments, because the reality is that my students are attending Zoom faithfully. I have really high attendance. I think that's fairly common from what I'm hearing. Kids are really appreciating the time to be together and like being involved in that learning. That's kind of what they're used to. The problem with that is that for them to really make progress with the academic goals that we're working to meet, they really have to complete the asynchronous work. Um, there's just no other way around it. It's really valuable and important. And so I've been talking with the kids quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, because as third graders, you may remember back in September, I really pledged to help build independence with them. I think it's time for them to take on more responsibility. So I've been talking to them quite a bit about what being responsible looks like with assignments. And I'm really encouraging them to complete their assignments each day. What I found is when we create kind of flexibility with that and say, well, when we can get to it, it's kids are having a really difficult time tracking it. I think I've mentioned that as Monday comes, it pushes down Friday, and as Tuesday comes, it pushes down Monday. I spoke with a student who wasn't getting all of her work completed recently, and it almost appeared like she didn't really even understand where to find it once that day had gone by. So hopefully she does now, but it is difficult. So I'm saying just complete all of your assignments each day. Just, then nothing's going to get backed up. It's also difficult for me to go back and look at student work when it's weeks past. I have students that I see all of a sudden I get a notice that they finished something like back from on October. And, by this time, I mean, it's hard enough for me to track assignments weekly, but to go back and track what's being turned in from weeks ago is nearly impossible. I'm also encouraging them to ask for help. If they need help with assignments, if they're not understanding, reach out to me. Really, the only way for me to help them is to know that it's confusing, and then really just set some time aside. And then also, some of the students that are just dedicated and so committed to their work are making use of the turn in feature. So once they complete an assignment, they indicate that they've turned it in. Whether or not it involves turning something in Google Classroom or not, that's how they track it, because then that purple icon turns gray. And so it's a really great thing for them to learn. I wanted to show you another graphic that I've been using with assignment turn in. And oftentimes I use this with one particular type of assignment, but I'll communicate to you as families. Generally, this is kind of the distribution of my students. I have, thankfully, the highest portion of my students that are completing most or all of their assignments. And certainly they're the ones that are going to be gaining the most academically. I have a lesser group, again, depending on the type of assignment, that are getting only some done. They don't seem to be compelled to get them all done. And I do have a few students who aren't really completing any, which we're working together to try and get that problem solved. But after a couple of weeks, I will say that the attention that we have paid to this has improved turn-in rates. And but I'm really reaching out to families to help me communicate to students that it's valuable and important. And I have students that I think I, the expectations at home are likely that you're expecting that they get work in. But if they're not hearing that message on a regular basis, and then also maybe sitting down with them and checking in with them about where they find work that's not completed would just be super helpful. I know we all have a lot going on. I know kids are trying their best in families, but if I could get some help with that, that would be fantastic. The other thing I just want to talk to you about to inform you a little bit is this project. Probably the biggest ongoing project we have is writing our persuasive speeches. So our ultimate goal is to have a speech with these characteristics in it. Um, this one is what I would say is kind of the minimal expectation for what I want to see. And it's been a lot of work. It's actually, I think, been a lot of fun. So we developed a claim. We chose some convincing reasons, and I met with students to help them do that. They selected supporting details for each of those reasons, like facts and examples. And then they together, and this is where we kind of met and did this, created these graphic organizers. This is all part of that writing process. So at this point, students should have in their writing notebook, they should have a paragraph written for each of their three reasons. And I'm fairly convinced a really high percentage of my students have this done. So this week, what we're working on is our introduction. And once that is done, we'll work on our conclusion. So by the end of this week, I expect our introductions to be done, and those are going to actually be done digitally. Early next week, we're going to want to get a conclusion written. And then past that, then we're going to start publishing digitally. So in our introduction, what we've done this week is write thesis statements, which sound really formal, but essentially it's kind of a long, complex sentence that has your students' claim together with a phrase about their three reasons. So I've been modeling that, and I think the kids worked on it today, and they've much improved. There's a little video about that. So some of them are wanting to include details, and it's like, no, that's going to come in your body paragraph. So again, this is kind of what I modeled. I think everyone should play a musical instrument because you don't need anyone to help you. There are many musical instruments to choose from, and playing a musical instrument can help you do better in school. So that is part of our introduction. And again, the next thing, once we get these done, next week we will be typing these into Google Slides. So that will be our publishing process. And then the week before Christmas, they will get a chance to record their speeches in Flipgrid. So that's kind of where we are with that. Last thing, there is a supply distribution planned for Thursday, December 10th. You can come by either 11:45 to 12:45 or 4 to 5 p.m. And so during that distribution, we are going to be passing out math manipulatives. We've been waiting. These are coming from our publisher. They will be barcoded and checked out to students and need to get returned at the end of the year or when we come back to school. There are some music supplies that are going to be passed out. Those are consumable. They will not be returned to school. And then what we want to do is replenish any general supplies. So along with this link to this video, you're going to be given a link to a Google form. Very quick. Just give us an idea of what your family might need. We're not creating custom orders per se. What we're trying to do is figure out what we need to collect and have ready. One of the things I want to mention is if your family needs a whiteboard, please let us know. Either students have misplaced them. I'm not quite sure, but I have some families or some students that aren't showing up and say they need another. And so please let me know. So with that, thank you again for listening. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to better support you. And hopefully we'll see you on Thursday, December 10th, ready to pick up some supplies. So have a good evening.